I have just returned from the G20 summit in Rio, and COP29 was very much on the agenda. I urge G20 leaders to instruct their ministers and negotiators to secure a compromise, to secure the success of the COP, and to secure a new ambitious climate finance goal at COP29. And I heard leader after leader stress the importance of concrete success. Delegations and the COP presidency are now working hard to find common ground. But as I said in my opening remarks here, the clock is ticking. COP29 is now down to the wire. I sense an appetite for agreement, but areas of convergence are coming into focus. But let's be frank, many substantial differences are still remaining. Success is not yet guaranteed. We need a major push to get discussions over the finishing line. To deliver an ambitious and balanced package on all pending issues with a new finance goal at its heart. Failure is not an option. It might jeopardize both near-term action and ambition in the preparation of the new national climate action plans, with potential devastating impacts as irreversible tipping points are getting closer. It would inevitably make the success of COP30 in Brazil more difficult. And so, allow me to repeat, what we need is clear. Agreement on an ambitious new climate finance goal in Baku in the context of a balanced set of decisions. Through its different components, that goal must mobilize the finance developing countries need, and a surge of finance is indeed essential. Essential to ensure all parties can deliver new national action plans aligned with 1.5 degrees as they must, the new NDCs. To give every government the chance to reap the benefits of clean, cheap renewables and a just energy transition, simultaneously accelerating the reduction of emissions. And to enable all countries to protect themselves and their people from climate disaster. The central role of adaptation is always recognized. On the other hand, a success is important to build trust between nations. International cooperation centered on the Paris Agreement is indispensable to climate action. Amidst geopolitical divisions and uncertainties, the world needs countries to come together here in Baku. And so I appeal directly to ministers and negotiators. Soften hard lines. Navigate the path through your differences and keep your eyes on the bigger picture. Never forget what it is at stake. This is a COP to deliver justice in the face of climate catastrophe. To help move us closer to securing a decent world for all humanity. This is not a zero-sum game, and finance is not a handout. It is an investment against the devastation that unchecked climate chaos will inflict on us all. It is a down payment on a safer, more prosperous future for every nation on Earth. And so we must make progress, and we must use the progress we already made to build upon. Last week, multilateral development banks announced a significant boost in climate finance for low and middle income countries. These will reach $120 billion a year by 2030, with another $65 billion mobilized from the private sector, with a natural projection that will increase these values for 2035. And in September, countries agreed to the Pact for the Future. And this contains important commitments on access to finance, effective action on debt, and substantially increased the lending capacity of the multilateral development banks, making them bigger and bolder. As you know, this is a negotiation among member states. I am not a negotiator myself, as Secretary General of the United Nations. But the COP presidency has my full cooperation in its efforts to strike a deal. Building on last week's consensus on carbon markets and the new national climate action plans that some countries have already announced. I urge every party to step up, pick up the pace and deliver. The need is urgent, the rewards are great, the time is short, as I say.
Thank you very much. We only have time for 3 questions. We will start over here. Danny Carati, Valor Económico.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I'm from Brazil.
You can stay seated.
Okay.
And please speak up. Speak up.
Thank you. So, developing countries feel that developed countries are ready to mention the urgency of the climate crisis, something that developing countries also agree. But there is no urgency in finance. So, what is your message to the richest nations that are still refusing to offer a negotiated number in Baku?
I do believe that we are coming to a moment of truth. And when we come to a moment of truth, I think it's important that every side clarifies its positions and its offers. I think this is true for the money question, as it is true for other aspects. Because, as I mentioned, there must be a balanced result, and all concerns must be taken into account. But I don't think we can go on and on and on without clarifying the key aspects of the negotiation, and of course, the financial dimension of the results of the COP will be one of those key aspects. But it's not the only one.
Thank you. Megan Rowling, Climate News.
Secretary General, you mentioned that there are many substantial differences still remaining here, and it doesn't look easy in the last couple of days to get agreement on finance or on mitigation. Could you explain what you see as the elements of problems that are blocking agreement here, and also in the outside world that's making it difficult to act and trying to change that?
As I said, I'm not a negotiator, but I was just listening to delegations, and I felt that the delegations are still largely with their initial positions. So now it's the moment to move from the initial positions and to find the areas of possible compromise. And my appeal to all parties is to do exactly that. Time to repeat the initial positions, I think, has come to an end. There is still time, it is still possible, and I'm confident that an agreement can be reached. But from now on, what matters is not what was the initial position of each party. What now matters is how to find a compromise that allows for an ambitious result in relation to the new global goal, because finance is in the center of this COP, but at the same time to take into account the concerns of all other countries in relation to the different aspects that are relevant for the future of our battle against climate change.
Right. I'm sorry, but this will be our last question. Seth Bornstein, AP.
Thank you. How much of a setback is the lack of language from the G20 in calling for transition away from from fossil fuels, because there's fear that that lack of language will repeat itself here in Baku. What would it do to efforts to save 1.5 if whatever comes out of Baku does not specifically reiterate the Dubai language of need for a phase out or transition?
Well, there are areas of language and there are areas of reality. For me, it is clear that science stresses that there will be no way to reach 1.5 degrees as a limit for global warming if there is not a phase out of fossil fuels. Of course, a phase out of fossil fuels in the context of a just transition. And it is my clear opinion that the language, whatever language is adopted, will not change this reality.
Thank you very much.
Hold on.
Sì, boh. Niente di particolare.
Çok misunderstanding. Razı olun.
The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has just returned from the G20 summit in Brazil, where he has been also addressing the G20 countries. Back here in Baku, where he had opening remarks earlier, we are getting to the day close of the final sessions of the COP29 in Baku, Azerbaijan. He's just addressed the media in a special moment, and he has echoed the same message he had earlier in his opening of the COP29 here in Baku, Azerbaijan. There have been, of course, 3 questions from the media. HICGI News Agency was unable to ask the Secretary General, but of course we took some good closer pictures of the Secretary General, and we will continue to bring you more of what's transpiring here in Baku, Azerbaijan. My name is Chivumbi Ernest Benjamin.